So recently I got the Platinum on Bloodborne. This was my first ever attempt at 100%ing a FromSoft game, and it was quite the adventure, but it wasn't always the smoothest of processes. Basically, I'd say to just... Oh no! Can I pull the plug? Does that work? Does that work? Oh. Does that work? Oh my god! But now finishing Bloodborne, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and Elden Ring, we're now going back to where it all started for me, with Dark Souls 1. Back in September 2021, it was my first ever experience with a Souls game. Now I would have actually used my existing character, but unfortunately I used all of the boss souls up for leveling up. But as far as achievements that we have so far, we have most of the basic ones for just progressing the game as normal. So what you're going to be seeing from this this highlight reel is just me more or less just progressing through the game. It's not going to be collecting every single spell, every single weapon. There will be a few of those here and there, but most of it is just going to be progressing through the game and just some funny highlights and key moments that happened during the playthrough. So with that in mind, let's get on with the gameplay. So here we are with our fresh character ready to rock and roll, and also lighting the first bonfire in the Undead Asylum, and also grabbing our first key item of our Estus flasks. Unfortunately, my stream went down midway fighting the Asylum Demon, but we got the plunge attack in, and now we're on our way for the Crow to pick us up to go to Lordran. And here we are arriving at Firelink Shrine, our main hub area. And here we are at the Undead Burg, where I'm picking up my bow and arrows ready to collect our first tail weapon. And here I have my first attempt, thinking I can take down a Black Knight at the very start of the game, which doesn't end particularly well. And the Taurus Demon was also having none of it as well. But we managed to succeed on the second attempt, however. Oh, I should be able to just hit this guy now, shouldn't I? There we go. So for this playthrough, I'm going to try and get Solaire to summon as much as possible, just to get the sunlight medals for these, and also just to make this playthrough a little bit smoother for myself. Ah, great. And here is just a very quick time lapse of me attempting to take down the dragon's tail, which is the first time I've ever actually attempted to do this, but it took about 40 arrows roughly, but there we go, finally got the Drake Sword, which will actually be one of my main weapons I use for the first couple of bosses at least. And then we finally make it to the bonfire where Andre and Sen's Fortress leads on to, and we also have our first attempt at the Gargoyles. This is the first boss you need to cut the tail off to actually get a weapon, which is actually missable until you get to Analondo, which you do get a second attempt for, but we luckily managed to get it, and after a few more attempts, managed to kill the Gargoyles. And we also had a little welcome party after our victory as well. Now this bonfire, I never knew how to actually get to it on my first ever playthrough, but after some helpful tips, we found out how to get past it and lit the next bonfire next to the Altar of Sunlight. So where is this going to take me then? Yeah, I came down here, I was like, oh brilliant, yeah, and then I fell all the way down that. Just like that. Just like that.
A few moments later.
Classic. At least my souls are in here. The dragon's back! What? What's going on? Oh, I'm dead again! So yeah, that was some bad times there, losing those souls, but we went back and picked up the Residence Key, which we'll use to free Grig, or Greg as we called him in our playthrough, who will be used to buy some magic spells off later on. And now for our next boss, which it's not really one of my favourite bosses, mainly because the arena, like as soon as you go in, like this happens, like you can get like completely stuck and ganked by the dogs. But after a couple of attempts, we finally managed to overcome it and get the key to the depths. Now with Greg being back in Firelink Shrine, we can now have the option of actually buying some of the first spells, which we'll do at a later stage. And now we're going to make our way over to Darkroot Garden to take on the Moonlight Butterfly. And this is just one of the few rare item drops that we need, which is the Stone Great Shield. There's a huge list of them, but this is just one of them that actually was quite fortunate to have dropped. And here we are, just finishing off the Moonlight Butterfly to collect our first boss soul that we'll need to make some weapons later on. And then we'll grab our first Ember for the Divine Weapons, which we will do at some point as well. And also I'm going to pick up the Bottomless Box, just as a precaution, just to store boss souls in, because I don't want to accidentally start using them. And here we are, getting absolutely clattered by Havel, but we overcome in the end and get Havel's Ring, which is a handy item, but I don't actually end up using it until New Game Plus. And here we are grabbing the large Ember. And here we are just freeing Laurentius, as we'll need him in Firelink Shrine to start Pyromancies. And here is one of the first, probably one of my favourite boss entrances in Dark Souls, the Gaping Dragon, which is again another boss that we'll need to kill just to get the tail off, which is the Dragon King Great Axe. And also, after killing the Gaping Dragon, we will gain the keys to Blighttown. God damn it. Oh, it's wiggly. Grabbing the loot. We're doing a loot run. Can I even get... Oh, that's a dead end. I'm done for. Unless this guy falls off. Heal! Get off! Get off! I've got no healing. Heal! Wow. I don't quite know how I've just survived that. Look at my health. I fucking deserve that. I absolutely deserved that. So after that unfortunate incident, we finally make it to the first bonfire in Blighttown. We then kill this octopus thingy and get our first ever pyromancy, and then we finally made it to the bottom of Blighttown to light the second bonfire. I did a tiny bit more exploring, and we found our first sorcery as well. And here we are fighting Quelaag for the first time. Had a couple of issues actually killing her, but eventually after about 4 or 5 deaths we managed to defeat her in the end. And that is our second boss soul that we're going to be using to actually make some weapons of. And then we finally ring the second bell, which unlocks the door to Sen's Fortress. And here we get our first Covenant achievement, which is for the Chaos Servant. And at some point we will need to offer 30 humanities to progress the ranking, and also get another pyromancy from her. Just like here, lighting the next bonfire, ready for the next area, which I do need to get infected by one of these like egg creatures at some point, but we do come back to that at another stage. And here is my realization that I should have killed the guy in the prison cell. And we now no longer have a firekeeper, which is bad times. So at this point, I leveled up my longsword to a +4. Even though I'm not two-handing it, I'm still only doing 33 damage, which didn't seem like a lot, and I was absolutely bemused at the time. That can't be right. What? But what I did instead, I actually just ran through most of this and just backstabbed as many enemies as I could just to get Analondo. And here's my first interaction with Onion Knight, which I'm going to progress his storyline, as we do need some key items from him throughout the game. And here's the first interaction with our Mimic for the first time. It was going fairly smoothly until this happened, and I lost all my souls, unfortunately. But we did come back and fight back, but we got a weapon which is actually really handy for this area, I found, which was the Lightning Spear, which is also going to be good for getting our lightning weapon achievement as well. And here we ran through and gained the Gold Serpent Ring, which is going to be really handy for item discovery later on in the game. And here's on another NPC, which is Big Hack Logan, which we will be completing his questline on this playthrough, as we need some sorceries from him. Now, just to put into context what happened here, I went up to the top of this previously and turned the lever to make the balls fire in different directions. I had no idea that if you actually left or went too far away from the area, then the whole thing would reset. And this is what happened after. Nearly 9,000 souls lost, and I had no idea that these things just reset randomly. And to make things worse, we had some very bad luck and some horrific back-to-back deaths. One going to the left, and the other one going to the right. Perfect. But we carried on, and we finally made it to the bonfire at the top of Sen's Fortress. Here we grabbed the cage key, which will just make a nice little shortcut for us to get up and down Sen's Fortress without running back and forth. Just quickly killing the giant up here just to stop him from throwing the fireballs down on us to the next boss. And just going to quickly disperse the iron golem to gain us access to Anor Londo. We'll also need this boss soul as well to make another weapon. And here we are, Anor Londo. So I went back here to Firelink Shrine to pick up the Pyromancy Flame, and also just have a quick browse at what items that we need to pick up at a later stage in the game. And also go back and see what magic spells we can buy as well from Grig. Now at this stage I have the Golden Serpent Ring, and I also have 10 Humanity popped, which increases your item discovery for doing both of those things. So I thought I'd have a crack at taking down some Black Knights in the early game and see if I get any lucky weapon drops. Which fortunately I did with the first one, where we got the Black Knight Sword, which will actually be one of my main weapons I use for the rest of this playthrough. I didn't get too lucky with the second one, we just got a Titanite chunk unfortunately. However, with the third we did get the Black Knight Shield, which is another item we can take off the list. Now here we are going back to the Asylum, where we can take down another Black Knight, but unfortunately we got a duplicate of the same weapon, but we did get a red Titanite chunk, which is going to be handy for weapon progression later on. And we also picked up the Peculiar Doll, which we will need to access the Painted World. Now here we are just getting the crest shield off this guy, and then killing the Stray Demon. It's only an optional boss, we get some souls for it, but we also get a very important item, which is going to be a Titanite Slap. Now back in Anor Londo, we kill the first Mimic that we find, and we get a Crystal Halberd, which is going to be a weapon that we're going to need to get another weapon to fully level up a crystal weapon. Now here we knock down the Chandelier, which I believe has an item that we need, but it's also quite fun just to knock down anyway. But unfortunately, Karma came to bite us in the ass. Fuck! Just doing the splits, come on. How is he hanging on? He's hanging off its
Brother, help me!
Long live the king.
Like the Lion King scene. Oh, he's gone. Into the herd. Now we've got a couple of lucky parries on the Black Knight blocking our way into the main area of Anor Londo, but we managed to overcome it and meet Solaire and light the bonfire. Just going to exhaust some of his dialogue here just to make sure we can actually summon him for some of the later boss battles. I actually completely forgot to summon him for Ornstein Smaug, but we do summon him for some later boss battles. Now we're just going to go through the fake wall here into the underground, where we're going to grab Havel's Great Shield, which is an item we need, and also the Dragon Tooth, another weapon that we need. And also take down the Mimic here for the Occult Club, which we'll need for another achievement. Here's Onion Knight's new position, so we need to get to him next. Now my tactic here, just to make sure Onion Knight didn't get hit, was to run into this room, open the door, and try and lure the knights out that way. Or at least if the door was open and if I die, I can just get back to here pretty safely, which was what I did in the end. Just draw one at a time out and get back to Onion Knight. Now I'm going to talk back to Onion Knight here, and then that should move his quest line along. This is probably the 10th Silver Knight I've killed in this area, and with both the Humanity and the Ring, I still got no weapon drops. So I thought, well, before we do Ornstein and Smaug, I thought I'd just attempt to invade and get the Firekeeper back in Firelink Shrine. But unfortunately, after my first attempt, I died of full damage, of all things. So I sort of gave up at this point and thought, right, let's just get on Ornstein and Smaug, get this sort of obstacle out of the way, and then we can progress, get the Lord Vessel, at least then we can start fast traveling around. So my idea for this boss was to probably take down Smaug first, as Ornstein I find is a little more difficult in the second phase, so then that should make New Game Plus easier for me, so because Smaug's a little bit slower and easier to combat, I find. I think this boss took me maybe 3 or 4 attempts, as opposed to like my first attempt at this, which was probably easy 30 to 40 tries. It's time, Rich. It's time. Let's do this. You'll see here I've got shades on. This is just something that I redeem on Twitch, and it actually gave me good luck in the end. And here we are with the Soul of Ornstein, which we will need to store and use as a boss weapon at some point. And here we are, just checking out the wonderful messages that get left by the community at Dark Souls. the classics. We all love them. We all love them. And here we are getting the Lord Vessel, which is a really pivotal moment in the game, especially for item grinding, just because you can get around the map a lot easier now. Most of the item grinding I did for drops, I did off stream just because it was way too boring to watch. And here we are getting another Covenant achievement for joining the Princess's Guard, which is another one I never did. And I just thought I'd level up the Black Knight sword a little bit more, as it's going to be my primary weapon. And here we are, just gathering I believe this is the Dragon Slayer bow, and then I went back in to invade. A couple of deaths, but we managed to get there in the end. And now our Firekeeper's back. And we also get the Fat Ring as well, which is a very handy ring in the game. And here we are, just lighting the bonfire near Guinevere, just ready for the boss battle. And here we go off to the Painted World. So this is one of my first engagements with one of the crow enemies in the Painted World, and fortunately dropped one of these Souvenirs of Reprisal, which is a Covenant item we're going to be needing to be collecting around 10 of. And here's one of my probably least favourite areas in the Painted World. It's pitch black and it's full of pinwheels, and I think I died probably about 5 or 6 times in this area. And after passing through the pinwheels, we find one of the passive enemies in this area, which doesn't actually attack you, but does drop the pyromancy called Fire Surge. And killed another 3 of those crows. Didn't get much luck with the drops, but we did pick up the miracle up here, which is called Vow of the Silence. And here we are picking up the Dark Ember, which we'll need for crafting a fully leveled up occult weapon. And here I am picking up the Blood Shield and doing my best Indiana Jones impression, running away from the undead dragon as it tries to chase me down. And here's Priscilla, which I actually avoided in my first ever playthrough, and I need to get the tail off it this time around, so quick 2-hand attack. Got the dagger, which was pretty easy to kill, and she wasn't actually too difficult in the end. I did die once to her, because you can't see the boss at all. You just got to base it off the footprints, but pretty weak enemy in the end. And we got the Soul of Priscilla in the end, which again we use for the boss weapons. And also got the achievement for defeating her as well. And now we're done with the Painted World. We're now going to leave and make our way over to Firelink Shrine. And then we're just going to talk to Onion Knight here just to progress a bit more of his quest line, because we do actually need a miracle from him, which we'll get here, which is called Emit Force. And then we've rightfully returned our Firekeeper soul to get our Firelink Shrine back up and running. And just with the souls that you got from killing Priscilla, we purchased the Crest of Artorias, because we're going to need to take down Sith at some point during this playthrough. And now here we are using the Crest of Artorias that we just picked up to enter the next area of the forest, avoiding some of the NPCs and joining the Covenant, which I've already joined in my first playthrough, but it makes them passive, and then easier just to do boss runs if you're going to do back and forth towards Sif. And here I am, I'm getting glitched in the trees. I didn't actually anticipate this to happen, and I couldn't for the life of me get out of here. I could have homeward boned, but at the point I was about to do it, I actually started getting attacked by another tree enemy. I couldn't attack it back, so I just had to let it kill me in the end, just to make this a lot quicker. Right, and here we go for the first out of 3 times fighting Sif. We're finally going to take her down and get the first soul from her. I don't like this state of the boss when she starts limping. It's pretty horrible to see, but make pretty easy work of the boss. Got the Covenant of Artorias ring, which we'll need to get to the 4 kings, and also got the Soul of Sif, which we'll need to do, unfortunately, another 2 more times. And here we are back with Onion Knight down in Blighttown, just exhausting his dialogue and just killing a couple of these slug enemies because they do drop green Titanite, which we do need at some point for some weapon upgrades. And here we are back into the Great Hollow now, which we need to head all the way down, literally just to join a Covenant. It went fairly smoothly the second time, but this was my first instance where I slipped off and fell to my death. And unfortunately, I had a rare ring of sacrifice on, which I was going to use in case I got cursed. But unfortunately, I fell to my death and the ring was broke, so that was a complete waste of time. And here's a really random enemy encounter that I've never ever experienced in even my first playthrough and this one only until now. There's a really rare enemy that actually spawns, which drops a couple of items. I don't actually manage to kill him this time, but I did actually find another one further on in the game. But here we are arriving at Ash Lake, and then witnessing probably one of the most bizarre animations you'll see in Dark Souls, where the Hydra gracefully flies over the beach doing a bombing run. It's quite a sight. It's quite a sight. And here's one of the Eyes of Death that I was trying to get previously by killing the Basilisks, which we'll need again for Nito's Covenant to level him up. And then here we are joining the Path of the Dragon Covenant, which is nice and easy to get to, and also allowing us to cut his tail off to get the Dragon Greatsword, which is another tail weapon that we need. And then just one final item down in Ash Lake, which was down a really tricky little path there, but we head straight back up here and pick up the Miracle Great Magic Barrier. So thanks very much for watching part 1 of my 100% playthrough. So in part 2 we'll be pretty much taking on the Lord Souls now and getting a couple of last bosses done. So we've got Nito, 4 Kings, Seath, and the Bed of Chaos, and obviously then Gwyn at the end as well. So drop a like if you enjoyed the video, a comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Thanks very much for watching.